Programming drums doesn't have to be a pain in the bum. I want to show you some of the things that I do when programming drums to make a composition really come alive, to trade energies and build up to big moments and then make the most of them once we've got them. What I've done is I've made a song here that I've called Lavender. The idea of this project is that you can grab this and play with the drums in pretty much any DAW. At the moment, it's just in Cubase, but we're going to make this available in all the different DAWs. So check out the link in the description. What you can do is grab the project and all the audio files, and then go ahead and grab a free trial of Mindset Drums, and then you can load that up, and you'll be able to play this project absolutely fine. So what you've got is the drums in MIDI form, and then you've got the audio for everything else. There's no plugins on this at all other than Mindset, so you don't need anything else to get involved here. I've made a mix preset here that sits in well. It has all of my little bits and bobs, all my favorite little elements. So it's working really nicely for the song. Let's have a bit of a listen to it. So that's the tune. First off, I want to say that Orr, the bass player who's also one of the owners and creators of Medallics, Beat Scholar, Mindset, he's gone ahead and tracked the bass for this, and I really love how he's interplayed with the drums. Let's start off with the intro of the song. I really wanted to make this whole song start really nice and open. So as we've got a riff that has no chord sequence, we have really room for the drums to just have a play around. As far as songwriting structures go, this is really important. So what we've got going on is a linear drum beat. So a linear pattern is where you have only really one instrument happening at once. We break the rule on a couple of occasions, like to start off with a kick and a crash together. So what we've got here is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a really nice beat, and it's sort of built out of a rudiment, which is right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left. So you can think of that as like da 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 right, 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 left, 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 and so it's mirrored. This is what happens in rudiments a lot. And then I've added in these kind of these bits of kick work kind of really help to bring the beat alive. So one of the focuses on this beat is that there's no real kick and starting point until you've gone another 4 bars through. 1, 2, 3, 4, nothing. 2, 3, 4, nothing. So there's a lot of flair here going on, and I don't want to get too bogged down by the details, but in general, just playing around with the concept of filling in gaps. And then this little fill at the end is quite nice. What's going on here in terms of programming something like this? If you have a look at our velocity curves, you've got like dun dun da, dun dun da, dun 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 dun. But then timing-wise, it's really important to note that these are off-grid. The snares are all right on for the most part, except for like one of them at the end. Other than that, what you tend to have is a tom right before each snare. So you can see how the timings are all a little bit different here, like a bit more space here, a bit less space here. This is really important for the humanization. So quantizing is sometimes your friend, but sometimes not. Let me show you what would happen were that to be completely quantized with no flamming. It just sounds much more robotic. What we've then got happening is a semi-open hi-hat growth. So here we've got just ghost notes that are similar to what happened before. You can see how on those ghosts, they kind of grow up to the next bar. I really like using cymbals on the snare as well occasionally, just to create like a kind of a, like an energetic raise. Now in the chorus, we've got this really nice ride bell groove going on. And this whole riff actually started from that drum beat. That's what I played in initially, and then I took some bass programming that then became real guitars, that then became real bass. And essentially, I just turned whatever the last accent there was into the open note. And that is so much more powerful than playing every kick. I mean, for example, were I to mute up these kicks and play in an alternative quickly for you, it just doesn't sound anywhere near as cool as having dun dun dunk dun dunk dun dun. If you have a look at what's going on with the ghost notes here, like what we had with the hats before, you want some kind of percussive overlaid rhythm, an ostinato of sorts. But ghost notes also like to live in between notes. So that's why there's a ghost there, and a nice quiet one as well really helps. Were you to mute those up without, there's also things like utilizing the 16th note triplets here. So have a listen to this. That's a little trick that I love the sound of. Whenever it comes up, it's just whenever something's leading up to a beat, you'll see that happening, especially when it's leading up to one. But that is just like a Steve Gaddie, Vili Colaiuta kind of. Things like those cymbal movements as well are so nice. That's based on the part that I wrote for the guitar there, just to I like to have something different happen on the beginning of the fourth time round of things to break up the monotony of a riff. One of the other things that really helped me when mixing this, which is something I want to touch on, is that the ride actually, I was having a hard time getting it to sit in place. And I'm used to, normally if you were doing this with a live kit or with anything, you know, if you wanted to make that ride kick, you'd have to compress it. But I found a little tool in here that made me really, really stoked, which was, there's a little mixer here, and I could turn up the bow hits so that they get louder compared to the bell. If I compare it to having that at the normal volume, it's let's have a look at the ending. This is really fun. We've kind of gone the gentliest we can go by going onto this lovely little stack here. One thing I've done here is I've put a hi-hat pedal on 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3. And this is the power of suggestion. It tells you that there's a syncopation that's not quite in line with what you're expecting. So the reason that's happening is because later on we actually are going to turn this into... we actually go into a different metric modulation, and this pedal hat is suggesting it beforehand, which makes it feel comfortable once it hits. And because the hi-hat pedal is lost here, the percussion takes it up a notch with a new loop. You can hear that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It just really helps to drive the beat forward and help to establish this new modulation as the new normal. And there's nothing better than a fill to tell you that the song's ending. That's a Chris Adler-ism right there. That's an ostinato that he loves and uses over all elements of the kit. Again, that flam at the end is super important to the sound of it. The fact that it's not quite centered and it's just like a natural hit. Some of the things about the mix of the plugin are helping an awful lot. Again, you don't need something like Mindset to do this with, but this is a good example of how to turn a plugin's features to your advantage in a songwriting sense. Because I wanted this whole thing to sound kind of pre-mixed, and I like my instruments to sound ready to go and exciting straight off the bat, I'm a big fan of what we call top-down mixing, where you have something at the end stage, squashing things together, making things sound finished, and then you build into that, and it kind of means that everything always sounds exciting. So I've utilized the FX section, and I've used this drive knob here. I've used it like a low-end tape compressor, and that's because you've got some filters here. Let me show you what that sounds like where you can mix it entirely in, remembering that this was at like 30%. Here's 100%. So we're ignoring this section here entirely. We're just using literally 0.001% of drive just to add the very basis of drive to everything between 400 and 65 hertz. So from 65 up to 400, all the doofiness of the drums without getting too high into the toms. Without it. With it. So it's all that weight in the low end. It's a really nice thing. You would use tape saturation, tube saturation for this, fancy compressors that have those elements. That's kind of doing that for you. So feel free to use this Lavender mix template as a preset to go from that with. The compressor is set actually quite interestingly as a limiter in this. So it's a 20-to-1 ratio, something very high ratio with a very fast attack, just to really not let any of the transients through. And this helps it be... it just makes it sound quite final. Without it, it's quite a... it sounds great, but you put it in a complex mix and stuff will get lost. That versus this. And a cool tip that the guys at Medallic showed me was using the low-pass filter to sweeten the top end. That might not make any sense, but hear me out. You take a low-pass filter and you can basically bring down the cutoff a bit, but using resonance creates a peak at the end of that cutoff. So, like, before it takes off the top end, it gives a little peak at a sweetness spot. And I've used that to sort of final EQ boost the top end. So it's not like it's muddy, but it's noticeably sweeter here. Without. With. It's really like brings out the ride as well that I like. So it's a really nice template as well for the reverbs. I love this rockin' plate that we've got and the balance. I just really like the sound of it. It's kicking ass. I've also gone ahead and tuned the snare down for this one, a -60. I really like the sound of it. Like, normally the snare sounds like this, but bringing it down just that little bit has really helped to fatten it out. Another thing that I really like that I've done is I've thrown on in the kick. There's a sub-synth that's in here. You can look at it in two places. You can either use it here in the sub-synth, but my favorite place is when you're looking at the kick. You've got like a breakdown of your different mics here. So you can hear kick in, kick out, kick condenser, and then the sub. Now, if you don't have a subwoofer or headphones, you won't hear that. But I've actually tuned that to the song as far as I can tell, and I've just made it super short. So the idea is without it, and with it, it just really drives the kick and gives it that nice transient low-end bump that can really cut through a mix. So yeah, hopefully that like shows you a bit more about why I program what I program. If you have any other questions, anything that you want me to go into more detail with in the future, just let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this. Enjoy this whole song. Enjoy the presets. I can't wait to see what you do with all of them. All the best and good luck on your next session.